Dana Denha, and you're watching FYI. The air is chilly as the leaves swirl through the sky, and that can only mean one thing. Halloween is near. Washtenaw County Parks and Rec is bringing the witching season to life while enhancing the majesty of our area parks.
It's the Halloween Hootenanny at Independence Lake.
We have a scarecrow building, which you can see right behind me. We have an obstacle course. We have crafts. We have a trivia trail that wanders through our paved path through the woods. We have treats, we have games, we have face painting. We got lots of fun and exciting things.
The Halloween Hootenanny brought the holiday to life, not just for the day, but to celebrate the season.
We've got stakes in the ground and we have the sticks, so pretty much everything's here for you to build your own scarecrow for your family. We have all the clothes for the scarecrows, we've got the straw for the scarecrows. We need you to kind of mix and match and put things together for your scarecrow, as well as kind of drawing the face on your scarecrow. So you're gonna have a friendly scarecrow, you're gonna have a scary scarecrow. It kind of is up to you and your family on what you want to do.
We've done crafting, games, and the scarecrow stuffing. We're about to do face painting and an obstacle course. Right now, we love doing the scarecrow and putting it together as a family.
We made bumblebees out of pine cones, and we made a scarecrow, and we did tic-tac-toe.
But it's a great time for you to spend with your family, doing some great things, enjoying nature, and being out at the park.
Stay tuned, and we'll be back shortly with more news and information. There's an organization that you can join no matter where you live that has been molding the future for our young for over 100 years. Watch as the Boy Scouts of America commemorate some locals, making the community a more inviting place.
On my honor, I will do my best to do.
For 26 consecutive years, the Boy Scouts have been recognizing community contributions through the Distinguished Citizens Award.
When one looks at the Scout Oath, Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, and so on. Those are all the kinds of values that you hope that people in our society would be seeking to emulate.
Our honoree tonight is Ken Fisher, the former president of University Musical Society. And two of the Boy Scout attributes that he's particularly notable for is his leadership of over 30 years of the Musical Society and also his involvement in the community. He not only engaged the University Musical Society in the Ann Arbor community, but he brought members of the community together in ways that wouldn't have happened if he hadn't been doing it.
What people need to realize is it's not me, it's everybody who's worked together in the community, in the university, to help UMS become the organization that it is.
We established the Corporate Citizens Award, who also demonstrated the highest values of scouting, so leadership, community engagement, and the other kinds of values like trustworthy, loyal, friendly, and Zingerman's community business has really checked so many of those boxes.
Zingerman's really tries to help develop individuals in a way that they can bring their best selves to work, and they can continue to grow and develop through their work, and over time, similar to the Scouts, you grow and develop in a way that you wouldn't have otherwise had you not had this experience.
Loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent.
With an unseasonably warm autumn, there's still plenty of time to get out and ride. But before your wheels hit the pavement, learn some tips to keep your bike in tip-top shape in this month's City Roundup in 60.
Hello, I'm Doug Martell with the Ann Arbor Police Department. We're going to talk about a pre-check on your bikes. I call it the ABC. You're getting ready to dust your bikes off for the season. So A is for air. make sure that your tires are properly inflated, that you have good tread on your tires. B, for brakes, you want to make sure that your brakes are working properly, because if you're going, you're going to need to stop at some point, so make sure that your brakes are working properly. If you need help with those, I'm sure your local bike shop will help you out. And C is for chain. You need to have a chain that's working well, that's not rusty and corroded, so make sure that your chain is working. If it's rusty and it doesn't look like it's going to take any lube, your local bike shop can help you out getting the right length of chain for you. Thanks for watching. Please ride safely. Enjoy the ride.
After 2 decades in the local theater game, the Brass Tacks Ensemble has a lot to celebrate as they created their own niche center stage. In typical thespian fashion, they are commemorating their longevity with a festival of staged readings, even premiering original works written by the ensemble. Joining me is Isaac Ellis with the Brass Tacks Ensemble. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
We've had people from the Brass Tacks on here before, but this is your first time.
This is my first time, yes.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about how the Brass Tacks came to be 20 years ago?
So it is a long story. Actually, we're doing a series of blog posts in our newsletters this year, written by the founding artistic director, James Ingajola. He and a group got together, the Performance Network Theater, which is now defunct. Long ago, they did a summer Tree Town festival, they would call it, where outside groups could come in and use the space. And for 6 to 8 weeks or so, they would perform all these outside groups. And this group of friends got together and decided they were going to propose King Lear. And this is in 1999. And they got accepted, and on the form they actually had to fill out a group name, and they didn't have one.
Okay.
So I believe it went back to James's theater days, where he worked with another group of people, and they finally settled on the idea of the Brass Tacks Ensemble, because the group was kind of not ignoring, but sloughing off spectacle and really big, you know, bright, shiny things
to focus on theater.
Yeah, to really focus on the story and the characters and let the audience's imagination take over the rest of it. I always like to say, as a side note, the dragon that the audience can imagine will always be better than the dragon we could build on stage. So why even build it?
Yeah.
Just let them imagine it and take that.
Yeah.
So they settled on the name, the Brass Tacks Ensemble, because of that, and it is stuck 20 years later.
And you're still doing the same thing 20 years later. You know, you're still, it's minimalist theater, and like in some ways, yes, I love that sort of theater because it does bring your own imagination into it.
Yeah, and a lot of people think of minimalist theater in that we purposely go in not expecting to do any of those things, and we kind of do it backwards in a way, in that we simply question everything. So it says, oh, you know, it's a 19th century, you know, palace dining room that we're in, and we look at it and we said, okay, but why? Like, what do we actually need to tell the story?
Yeah.
Does someone tell us where we are? Then we probably don't need to show you, because we just told you where we are, and you can start, you know, if I say 19th century palace dining room, you're already coming
your
up with
head's already
ideas.
there. Yes, yeah.
So then we play with, you know, what props do we actually need? Do we actually need a certain table, or will the audience's imagination fill all that in by what the characters are saying, what the script gives them to hear and kind of spark their imagination, is the phrase we like to use. So,
do you find that it can be challenging for the actors to not have the wild set pieces that some of the other productions might have?
Yes, and I think the biggest thing is many of us have trained in theater somehow. We have degrees in theater, we took theater classes, we've gone and worked with other theater companies. This is not how 95% of them work.
Yeah.
Most of them are like, there is a set designer who's building this huge set because it says there's a huge set, so they built it. There's a costume designer that's making huge costumes because it's 19th century, so we have to have huge costumes. And this is the way we're taught to do all of these things. So in a way, it's learning all of those ideas and then being able to break yourself of that and walk away from it and go, but what do we actually need? And it does. We get into, I don't want to say that they're arguments, but we get into big discussions about it.
Yeah.
Because of what we're taught, theater is supposed to be.
It's hard to
versus-
break anything that you've been taught for many years, because I'm
Yeah.
sure a lot of you have been doing theater for years and years prior to being in the Brass Tacks Ensemble. So yeah, it is like one of those things where it's like, how can we not have a goblet? Like, why? You know what I mean? Yeah.
And I know the first show I did with them, I came in and I did those things. I didn't care that there wasn't a set or anything, but I was like, well, I'm supposed to have this and I'm supposed to have that. And
Yeah.
it says I have this too in the script. And finally someone just was like, but why?
To, like,
Do you need
slap
it?
you across the face.
Exactly.
Snap out of it.
And now I've been with the group since 2008.
Yeah.
And now I'm the one doing that.
Yeah.
Yelling at people, why?
Yeah.
No, tell me why. Just because I'm going to love your explanation. And I think by the time you're done explaining why you think you need that, you're going to be convinced that we might be right.
Yeah,
So-
totally. So let's talk about what we have upcoming, because this is coming up soon. You guys are
Yes.
doing a festival of staged readings. So why did you, this is like your one big thing you're doing this year, right?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what to expect.
So, contrary to popular belief, running a theater company is not simple. There's a lot that goes into it. You have to find space. I will guarantee most of the theater companies in this town do not have their own rehearsal space. Performance space they don't have. Almost everybody's sharing spaces, renting spaces. That takes a lot of money, which means you have to be raising a lot of money. And we're all volunteers. So we're working as hard as we can. We've grown the company a lot up to the point where we were doing 3 shows a year for quite a few years, and it was very exciting. But it was a lot of work, and quite frankly, we all got tired. So we said, we want to make sure if we're doing this, we're having...
You want to have fun.
We want to have fun. Yeah, we want to make sure we're actually enjoying what we're doing.
And
so
that's
this
the way
year,
theater's meant to be.
right? You would think theater should be fun.
Yeah.
Art should be enjoyable.
Yeah.
So this year we came into deciding we didn't know what we were going to produce at all. And we started up a playwriting club because a number of us were interested in playwriting. We used to do a lot of playwriting and produce a lot of original works. And we said, we don't have time. And when you're producing 3 shows a year, each rehearsing for about 2 months, you don't have time to think about playwriting. So we decided we would start a playwriting club, not knowing where we were going with it. And then we also started a play reading club because reading plays by yourself is boring.
It's not, you don't get a feel for it.
You don't get a feel for
Yeah.
it. So the playwriting club started meeting. We started with just maybe 3 or 4 of us, and a lot of people joined in for maybe 1 session. Everyone was sussing it out. They knew they wanted to write. They didn't know if we were the right place. We ended up with 5 of us that were meeting relatively regularly, and we wrote a lot of stuff. And then we started the play reading club and made a huge list, and sometimes there was 3 of us, sometimes there were 10 of us. It could be any number.
Yeah.
And we would just sit in a living room and drink tea and split up all the parts, and we would just go around and pick up new characters, and we would just read it out loud to hear it, and then we'd talk about it. And then we talk about it in the Brass Tacks way. Like,
Yeah.
is this something the Brass Tacks would produce? How would we produce it? You know, is it theatrical? Is it universal? Is it, you know, something we would want to do? And it led to a lot of interesting discussions. And I did find actually with the play reading club, even if we ended up hating the play, 1, none of us let on until the very end. And 2, we still had a really fun time.
Yeah.
We loved getting together just to read it, even if we ended it by saying, wow, I really didn't like that
Yeah,
play.
yeah.
But it was fun. So this is what we did all year, these 2
So
clubs.
this is kind of like just, you weren't sure where it was going, but this is kind of what it ended up.
Exactly. So when we got here, we realized we had all this original content we had been writing, and we had all of these, many of them were royalty-free plays that we had read and essentially discussed and debated.
Yeah.
So we said, if we're going to put together a festival, it's our 20th anniversary, so we wanted to do something.
Special, too. It's
Something
different.
special. Yeah.
And, like, it's exciting because it is all, like, a bunch of new short plays that no one's ever seen before. It's all from your guys' own minds.
Right. And we wrote them all working with the Brass Tacks, the motto, with the mission statement, with the way we function. So even though some new people came into this, we told them, we're going to critique these plays now. We're going to get into super critique mode because we want to make sure we can produce them.
Yeah.
And we're going to push these certain ideas. That's how we're writing these things. And so we did it, and it worked really well. So we had, all this original content. We could say, well, we could do stage readings of all this original work that we have. which would be a lot of fun. And then we had a night we said, well, we've read a lot of royalty-free things. We could take one of those and make it into kind of a staged reading with scripts, but
So there's one
bigger.
that is a royalty-free, just one royalty-free play
So-
that you're doing a stage reading of, and then it's the short ones, but you'll see different ones every night?
Yes. So there's technically 4 nights.
Okay.
And all 4 nights are completely different. So if you miss one night and you say, oh, I'll go see it another night, you're going to see a totally different
And what
performance.
dates are these?
November 1st, November 2nd, and November 8th and November 9th.
Okay.
All Fridays and Saturdays. So
At the Children's Creative Center.
Children's Creative
Yes.
Center on Pauline. There's a lovely stage in there that we build into a wonderful little theater, and it's a lot of fun to work in there. So the November 1st is going to be mostly radio-style type plays that we wrote. So if you've ever listened to like any of the old radio shows,
Yeah.
there's some of them now like on NPR they do, like Prairie Home Companion does some radio plays,
Yep.
things like that. So we wrote a number of those, and there's one little interlude that's not a radio play, but it didn't fit anywhere else, so we put it there.
Yeah.
And then the 2nd, on Saturday, will be a staged quasi-radio play ensemble performance of The Tragical History of Dr. Faustus by Christopher Marlowe. It's going to be done by 10 people, and actually we only cast 10 people to play all of the characters in all of the stage readings.
Okay.
And Faustus and everything. So 10 people are playing, I think the count is just under 100 characters
Wow.
over the course of these 3
yeah.
nights of that. So that night is going to be, we kind of wrote a narrator part to it, so it's kind of a radio play, like you could listen to it, but we're also performing it live with scripts in front of the audience, you know, playing within the audience. So it's going to be a fun, kind of different type of theater type stage reading.
Yeah.
It's going to be very, I wouldn't say interactive because we don't do interactive
Yeah,
theater,
yeah.
but it's going to be very engaging
Yeah.
in many
So expect
different
something
ways.
different than what you would normally expect at,
Yes.
at a regular play.
Yeah. And then the 8th, the Friday after that, is another set of stage readings based on the ideas of balance and sponge, which was at some point we started taking our writing and saying, what if we focused our writing for a while on a universal idea, and we decided on balance, and some very specific thing, and we chose a sponge.
Strange choice.
Put those 2 things together, and we ended up writing a lot of very interesting things around that. They probably range from 20-ish minutes to 5 minutes, and there's a whole evening of those as well. And then the 9th, that last Saturday, is going to be a big party, which is open to the public.
And that's at Children's Creative Center.
That's also at the Children's Creative Center. There will be some food, there will be some drink, and we actually just put out a call on email to everyone who's ever worked with us over the past 20 years. And we're getting responses now, and we're pulling snippets from a whole bunch of past plays, and we're going to revive 30-second to 1 minute pieces of those plays. And throughout the evening, we're just going to have people pop up and perform that little piece
Oh
of
my gosh,
it.
that's such a good idea to commemorate a 20th anniversary. It's like a very unique idea too.
I think
Yeah.
it's going to be a lot of fun, and a lot of people are joining in right now. We still have to organize the whole thing. It's going to be a lot of logistics.
Yeah.
But we're thinking something like big party, everyone having a good time, just chatting, and an MC jumps up and says, you know, in 2004 we performed this show, and across, everyone turns around,
Yeah.
and 2 people suddenly perform a 30-second scene from that show
Yeah.
that everyone maybe remembers or gets interested in and starts asking questions, or just a fun way to kind of celebrate all these things we've done with the people we've done them with.
Yeah, it's
So,
can't miss. Well, just tell people why they should come in our last minute here.
why people should come. This is going to be a really cool celebration of a tiny theater company that probably a lot of people haven't come to see yet. It'll be a great opportunity to see how we function, a great opportunity to see a whole bunch of new work that has never been performed before. So Ann Arbor is a great artistic community, and this is a great display of all that art coming together in, well, one festival, one set of 4 days.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and yeah, the Brass Tacks has a lot to offer and a lot that it plans to do in the future. So this is a great way to help kick it all off and see what's coming.
Yeah, well, thank you for coming on the show, Isaac.
Thank you for having me.
For more on this and other programs, visit a2gov.org/CTN. Visit youtube.com/CTN Ann Arbor to see all that we have to offer. And remember to like, comment, and share. Thanks for watching, and tune in next time to FYI.